I don't think anybody could look at the presidency and the conduct of Donald Trump and say this is a person who's somehow anti-Semitic.
He had dinner with Nick Fuentes, who is an avowed anti-Semite.
The topic of whether Donald Trump is personally anti-Semitic continues to come up. And often cited as defenses of Trump are that Trump's grandkids are Jewish, Trump's daughter Ivanka converted to Judaism, Trump does business with Jewish folks and seems to have no problem, and he moved the embassy to Jerusalem or whatever. And we're going to look at a clip here of JD Vance saying Trump is obviously not anti-Semitic, to which CNN host Dana Bash says, well, he did have dinner with that Nick Fuentes guy who is an avowed anti-Semite. And then let's see what JD Vance had to say, and then we're going to talk about it in more detail.
Yeah, because he did say that any Jewish person who voted for Joe Biden should be ashamed of themselves. I want to move on.
But he's made similar comments about a lot of different groups of people, Dana. I don't think anybody could look at the presidency and the conduct of Donald Trump and say this is a person who's somehow anti-Semitic. And I think whether you're Jewish or not, you should be looking at the record of Joe Biden.
He had dinner with Nick Fuentes, who is an avowed anti-Semite.
Dana, you should look at the record of Joe Biden.
Yeah, I don't know what Joe Biden's record has to do with Trump dining with white supremacists, but there is a little bit of a deeper conversation to be had here. And I do think we on the left need to be more nuanced, because when we just put out there, Trump's an anti-Semite, I actually think we're not being really precise enough, and we open ourselves up to criticism. Trump may not be personally anti-Semitic. He may be. I don't know, but he actually might not be. But he can still be governing in a way that coalesces and invigorates anti-Semites and legitimizes anti-Semites as part of a political coalition when they should actually be completely ostracized and limited from participation. And in fact, you know, we've talked before, I don't think Trump is homophobic in the super tangible and specific way that many people are homophobic. Trump probably harbors some sort of stereotypical beliefs about the LGBT community. But I actually doubt Trump is what we would describe as overtly homophobic. I doubt that Trump is what we would describe as overtly anti-Semitic. He probably harbors some general anti-Semitic tropes as beliefs, Jews as clever business people to work with, you know, kind of like we've talked about Saudis from the Saudi royal family that are increasingly working with Jewish folks, and they say, we're not anti-Semitic. They probably harbor a variety of beliefs that are based in anti-Semitic tropes, but they may not be overtly and personally anti-Semitic. And that very well may be the case with Donald Trump. It's actually deeper and it's more complicated than that. Trump's rhetoric often emphasizes a nationalism and a populism and this sense of grievance against the perceived elites, even though Trump is the elite. Don't get that wrong. He's the elite guy who grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth in Queens and Manhattan. But he will use this language, and oftentimes that is filled in by, oh, he's sort of referring to Jews. I at least can fill in the blanks for who he's talking about with the idea of the conniving conspiratorial Jewish trope, even if Trump isn't saying that. Trump uses dog whistles all the time, the coded language that might not be overtly anything, but it has a very specific meaning to the groups that he's targeting, the subgroups he's targeting. And Trump all the time uses these phrases and tropes that if you don't know what you're listening for, it could be interpreted a number of different ways. But for those who do know what to listen for, who are already inclined to these beliefs, these references to the deep state, the global financial conspiracies to control, that all echoes anti-Semitic stereotypes about Jewish conspiracy to control. And it titillates the people that believe that stuff, and they circle the wagons around Trump. Domestic policies have sometimes empowered groups that are explicitly or implicitly anti-Semitic. When Trump has been hesitant to condemn white supremacist groups until he's asked 100 times and then finally kind of goes, yeah, you know, I don't really know anything about it, but I condemn it, I guess. And we saw this with David Duke. We saw this after Charlottesville in 2017. We've seen a bunch of examples of this. So the conversation about this, is Trump personally anti-Semitic? No, he's not. Look, he did this. Well, yes, he is. He dined with that person. Fine. If that sort of serves as an opening to the conversation we're trying to have, that's fine. The more important question is, who has he activated and welcomed as legitimate voices within the political discussion? And you need only look at the pool parties at Mar-a-Lago to understand the ways in which, Trump's beliefs aside, I'm sure Trump loves his grandkids as much as he loves his kids, which is still an open question how much that is, but you get my point. Despite all of that, the question is, what are the coalitions that are being built? And that's what's missing from a lot of these conversations about, is Trump personally homophobic? Is Trump personally anti-Semitic? It is time to start thinking like voters and to make sure that kids understand the importance of voting, how it works, registering, ballot initiatives, because so many kids just have no idea. That's why I wrote the new children's book, Think Like a Voter. I can think of no better time and no more important group of folks to try to reach. The book is now available at davidpakman.com/book, where, by the way, you can get the first 2 books in the series as well. Think Like a Detective and Think Like a Scientist. Really important stuff. Donate them to local libraries, classrooms, read them with the kids. davidpakman.com/book.